Georgia, Georgia, the whole team through. The Eagles are Georgia, Georgia. Sorry. Hey, welcome to the show, everybody. How about that? How about that? It is incredible to look back on last night and say, that happened. That actually happened. The Eagles somehow magically got not one, but two members of the Georgia Bulldog defense that they already have two of those guys already on their roster. Now pretty much, yes, the whole team is Georgia through and through. The Eagles even tweeted it out themselves saying dog mentality, as in bulldog mentality now here in Philadelphia. Philadelphia Bulldogs, Georgia North, Bulldog North, whatever you want to call it, whatever you want to say about it, the Eagles are going to have a very good defense. Now, here's the deal. Jalen Carter, zero doubt in my mind, that was the guy that the Eagles were focusing in on. That's the guy, as I said last night on the Jacob Media the draft show with Rob Ellis, Derek Gunn, and Seth Joyner. That was the guy that Howie Roseman had a red dot on. Like, that was the guy in his crosshairs without question. That's who he was going to go after in this draft. If he fell, he was going to be able to make that move and go get him. And that's who we got. And all it cost him was a fourth round pick. It took him, it cost him, he had to move up a spot. So he moved up a spot. Had a pick swap. Gave up a fourth round pick in next year's draft. As I told you, next year's draft was going to be affected by this draft very much. And I think that's just the first step in affecting next year's draft. And the Eagles move up one spot and they get their man, Jalen Carter, who is now a member of the Philadelphia Eagles defense, along with the Kobe Dean, along with Jordan Davis. And this big man in the middle of the line of scrimmage is going to be playing next to Fletcher Cox. He's going to be playing next to Jordan Davis. He's going to be playing next to Milton Williams. Ladies and gentlemen, this is going to be, again, a stacked defensive line. Now, is it fair to say that he's going to come in here and he's going to be dominant, like Javon Hargrave was dominant in terms of getting after the quarterback with 11.5 sacks? Is it fair to say that he's going to have double digits in sacks here in Philadelphia? Is it fair to say he's going to be a Pro Bowler right out of the gate? No, of course not. It's not fair. But here's what is fair. The Eagles are still going to have a really good defensive line. A really good defensive line. And now you can see past the career of Fletcher Cox. Now you feel like there is somebody you can trust in handing the reins over to as a dominant defensive tackle for years to come. Bijan Robinson going off the board, I think, helped the Eagles in a lot of ways because I don't think that they were willing or looking to trade back at 10. I think they wanted Jalen Carter 1,000% of the way. If somehow they weren't able to get him, I still don't think Bijan Robinson was going to be on their list, although I would have been ecstatic. I would have been ecstatic had they gotten him if Jalen Carter was off the board, and that proved not to be the case. Overall, and then, oh my goodness gracious, Nolan Smith still being available at 30 is insane. I was saying last night, and I'll continue to say it, that was the craziest draft I've ever seen. It was the most unpredictable draft I've ever seen. And you know who set the table? Do you know who started that trend? D'Amico Ryans, our old linebacker here in Philadelphia, former defensive coordinator out there in San Francisco, now the head coach of his former team in the Houston Texans. So, hold on a minute. You mean to tell me that you're going to take C.J. Stroud? So you're going to take C.J. Stroud. You're going to get your quarterback. All right, good for you. But, man, you were looking at Will Anderson Jr. probably, and you were salivating as a defensive player. Thinking, oh, you better get this guy on the year. Oh, man, if I get defensive player of the year, if I get this guy on my defense, it's going to be dominant. And I was even saying at the time, I'm sure he wants Will Anderson Jr., but you got to take your quarterback. We all know it's a passing league, but I'm sure he's looking at both those guys right now and thinking, oh, man, this is going to be tough. But if I get this guy, I'm going to take him. They take Stroud. And then they end up taking Will Anderson Jr. They end up trading back for back-to-back picks, ladies and gentlemen. And he gets his quarterback of the future, and he gets his defensive leader, his defensive anchor, his defensive pass rusher of the future. What a win for the former Eagles linebacker, former Houston Texans linebacker, and now head coach of the Houston Texans. So that started the craziness. You know what that was? That was, you want to get nuts? Let's get nuts. Okay? And they got nuts. And then, I don't know. I don't think this is, I can't remember the last time this happened, but I'm sure it's been a very, very, very long time. I said it to Seth Joyner at one of the breaks we took last night. I said, hey, when's the last time this happened? And he goes, I bet you a long time. And I go, that's what I thought. When was the last time 2 running backs were off the board in the top 12? 2 linebackers were off the board in the top 18? And then a wide receiver. Like, your first wide receiver didn't go in this draft. Who was it? I think it was 16. That is insane. I can't remember any time that's ever happened. So the craziness had already started. The Eagles being able to get Jalen Carter, slightly nuts that he fell to 9. And a lot of people looked around and we sort of talked about it on the show last night. Well, what about what happened at Georgia? What about drag racing and all that? And 2 people lost their lives in this incident. What about all that? If you're going to have somebody that has any issue, if you're going to have somebody that has any off the field issue where they can get distracted, they can get caught up in moments, and they can allow themselves to get swept up in moments like that, there's a good place for him, and that's Philadelphia. That's in this Eagles locker room. Because I double dog dare Jalen Carter to get distracted with Jalen Hurts as his quarterback. I double dog dare him to get distracted with Fletcher Cox sitting right there next to him, with Brandon Graham on that defensive line. And aside from the locker room, Howie Roseman mentioned this last week. I should have highlighted it last week. I did not. But in going over notes and watching the press conference again of him and Nick Sirianni from a week ago, in going over that, I should have realized just how important Dom DeSandro is in all of this. Because you can talk about policing a player with teammates, especially a young player like this, and he's coming into an environment where he's got Jordan Davis, he's got Nakobe Dean, he's got some familiar faces, and now Nolan Smith as well. The interesting thing here is that even away from that locker room, before he gets in that locker room, he goes through a intense vetting process with the Eagles' chief of security in Dom DeSandro. Dom DeSandro is a very interesting guy. I've had the pleasure of talking to him. I've had wonderful experiences. He's a great guy. But this guy can find things out. And I know every team's got him. I don't know if every team has got one as good as Dom. But going through that kind of process, I think there's a reason why this Eagles culture has been what it is and why it has been so great. And yes, winning has a lot to do with it. Veteran presence have a lot to do with it. But also knowing the guys before you put them in that locker room, knowing that they're guys that will go into that locker room and be an asset and not a distraction, starts with Dom DeSandro. So if there are concerns, if there are worries about Jalen Carter and the kind of character that he has, I think that the Eagles have done their due diligence and then some when it comes to recognizing what they're putting in that locker room before it's all together. And then once it's together, the players handle themselves. And Nick Sirianni, in some magical way, without ever being a player in the NFL, is able to identify with these players at an unbelievable rate. I mean, we talked about Doug Peterson. He was a player. He was a quarterback in this league. He has an upper hand on a lot of people for being able to identify with these players. And somehow Nick Sirianni still has that same type of respect. It's an incredible thing. And I think it all comes down to everyone knows how much he wants to win. And that's how this locker room got this incredible. Solid background checks, knowing who you're getting them, and then once you put them in the locker room, the players will handle the rest of it. But all in all, as just as far as what you get on the football field, this is going to be a tremendous push in the middle of this defensive line, along with Fletcher Cox and Jordan Davis. And one of the other things that I found interesting from last night is that the consensus from the experts, Jordan Davis is still going to be working his way into this rotation, while Jalen Carter already has a spot waiting for him. So when it comes to who's going to be the starting defensive tackle next to Fletcher Cox to start out the season, the guy with the upper hand right now is Jalen Carter over Jordan Davis. Jordan Davis didn't see as much of the football field as he would have liked in his rookie campaign, but when he was out there, he was obviously productive. But when it comes to who's going to be the starter, who's going to be taking over for Javon Hargrave, the leg up right now is Jalen Carter. I can't believe this draft fell the way it did. Absolutely unbelievable. Then you go through the rest of the draft, and the whole time you get into the 20s, and you're like, Miles Murphy is still on the board? Okay. All right. I mean, I like Miles Murphy. I mean, Luka Von Ness was already off the board. I even liked him more than most people, and the Packers were like, oh, we're definitely taking him at whatever it was, the 16. And I'm watching this play out, and I'm thinking, wow, hold on. Nolan Smith is still available. Miles Murphy is still available. Brian Branch is still available, and I thought he would be available from the 25 to 32, 31 range, I should say. Maybe even in the second round. And there they all were, right there on the board. And sure enough, the Eagles are picking, and they're getting ready to make their pick. They're getting ready to make their selection. Miles Murphy goes off the board. Damn it. And they're like, okay, well, hold on a second here. You still got some other guys available. Nolan Smith is still very much available. Brian Branch is still very much available here. All right, they're getting down to it. Giants pick. The Cowboys pick. Oh, man. Jerry Jones is going to Jerry Jones, ladies and gentlemen. And it's still there for the taking. At least 3 solid players the Eagles could be getting. Any one of them, I'd be happy with them getting. And they land on Nolan Smith. And one of the things I liked from Howie Roseman was when they said, when he talked about how Nolan Smith became an Eagle, it was just like, let's just not get cute. Let's not get too cute. Pretty amazing what the Eagles were able to do last night. Without further ado, let's hear from Howie Roseman on the picks that they were able to get, especially Jalen Carter. I believe this is the clip of him talking about how they made it happen there.
Yeah, I think that for us, our investment is a huge part. I mean, I've talked about Dom many, many times.
Yeah, here it is. Okay. This is, excuse me, I don't have time to label these. Quick turnaround with shows. Miss Scusi. This is Howie Roseman talking about the background of Jalen Carter and how if you had concerns in that regard, they were dispelled by background checks and knowing what locker room he's going into. Here's Howie on getting Jalen Carter.
Yeah, I think that for us, our investment is a huge part. I mean, I've talked about Dom many, many times about the work that he does, which is the best in the National Football League. And we understand that all these players, they need to be developed. They're coming into the league at a very young age. They're not finished products. I think all of us, when we were 21 and 22, hopefully have grown a lot from that time. And, you just really want to get to know the person and what's in their heart. And I think when we got to know Jalen, we just felt like here's a kid that, he does love football. Obviously, he's a winner. He won in high school. He won in college. And, we felt like we have really good people in this building. We have really good support staff. We have really good players who are good people. We have really good coaches. And we felt like it was a good fit for us.
Oh, baby. They did their homework is all he is saying there. And something came to mind when I listened to Howie say that in the wee small hours of the morning. When Michael Vick became a Philadelphia Eagle, once you got through a lot of the rage that a lot of people had, when he thought about the off the field things and all that, you try to think about how does it make sense? Especially when you had a quarterback already in Donovan McNabb. Why take this? Why take the brunt of this? And the conclusion I came to, aside from getting somebody that could play at a high level on the football field, and the description that Andy Reid gave at the time, that he actually gave Michael Vick the starting job a couple years later when they had Kevin Cobb there as well, was the accelerated level of play. Aside from realizing that Michael Vick could play at an accelerated level of play, right? What do you do in school when there's a bad kid? You sit him next to the good kid. You get him away from the bad crowd, you put him with the good crowd. The Eagles locker room right now is a good crowd. The Eagles locker room back then with Donovan McNabb, that was a good crowd. That was the good kid. Michael Vick was put with the good kid with a good head coach. You put him with Tony Dungy, with another former good head coach at the time. You put him with good people. You surround him with good people, and you hope that everything else takes over. I'm not saying or comparing what happened with Jalen Carter to Michael Vick. What I am saying is when there is somebody that's looked at and, he might be a problem, if you put him in a good group of people and you surround him with a good group of people, the off-the-field stuff, the concerns of whatever the attitude might be, they tend to go away. And also, as I mentioned, and Howie referenced it again, having a guy like Dom DeSandro go into somebody's background check and talk to all the people you're supposed to talk to, that also lets you know that you're getting somebody in here that is worth taking the risk, worth the investment of a 9th overall pick. And one thing that Derek Gunn said on the show last night, and Derek talks to a lot of these people as well, one of the things that he said last night that I found very interesting was that they're going to do their due diligence, they're going to do their homework, but it was like the old Jimmy Johnson line. Some players are more equal than others. In other words, not all the same rules apply to all the same people. The juice has to be worth the squeeze. If you're going to be a little bit of a headache, you better be dominant on the football field. And the Eagles are looking at Jalen Carter as if he might be the best player in this draft, him and Will Anderson Jr., and this is the guy that could be the biggest impact player on your defense. And that's what the Eagles went out and got. I don't know what the hell happened after that, but it was like looking at the 25th, 26th, 27th, 28th, 29th picks leading up to the Eagles picking. My thought was, are the Eagles even surprised by how this board is falling? With still having guys, like I mentioned, in Miles Murphy still being available, still having a guy like Brian Branch available, still having a guy like Nolan Smith above all else available. This is insane. Did Howie think the night was over? Because I've told you guys for the vast majority of this draft time, actually not even the vast majority, I have not swayed from this. The Eagles were not picking at 30. Only 6 draft picks going into last night. They got 12 going into last night. They also had 12 picks in next year's draft. There's no way that the Eagles were making that pick at 30. And then all hell broke loose. Take any mock draft you had, just light it on fire, and that's it. All those players still being available. It was like Howie Roseman running back into the draft room, running back into the war room, going, no, guys, we're not done yet. No, we get some guys available. Well, who's available? Nolan Smith. What? And everybody stayed put. And I think what echoes that same sentiment is the fact that you saw, 3 different teams try to move up. The Jaguars, the Giants. You saw there was a lot of movement there with the Jags, as a matter of fact, in that spot. There were teams shuffling the deck. That one pick, what was it, 25 overall? They got traded twice in 5 minutes. So as that was going on, I'm thinking, wow, this is an indication that these GMs, this isn't going the way you thought it was. Yeah, light any mock draft you had on fire. And sure enough, when push came to shove, the Cowboys had just a really weird pick. The Giants had a really weird pick, and all these players are still available. And Howie Roseman was standing right there and was looking at Nolan Smith and said, "Oh my goodness, we love our speed rushers here in Philadelphia. Brandon Graham certainly built himself a nice career. Josh Sweat has certainly come around the corner here in more ways than one. And you got Hassan Reddick here already. So now you're going to take the interior of this defensive line. You're going to have edge rushers that should continue to be dominant. I mean, the goal here is that your interior defensive linemen stay around the same as they did with Javon Hargrave. Where on the edge rushers, that of Josh Sweat and that of Hassan Reddick, now you're adding Brandon Graham again. Now you're adding to that mix. Here's Howie Roseman on being able to add Nolan Smith, and whether or not he was surprised guys like that were still available at the 30th pick.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things in the draft that I think you got to be flexible. I think, you go into the draft and you say, hey, here are a couple of names at 30, and then you see guys sitting up there like Nolan, and again, like an incredible person. Obviously, got unbelievable traits in his body, leader, and winner. So for us, we're fielding calls at that time, and I think, Coach and I kind of just looked at each other and said, hey, this is the guy, and we didn't want to get too cute, and we're excited to add him.
How many times have we said through the years, let's not get too cute here. Devontae Smith is right there. Just get Devontae Smith. He's fun. You just get Devontae. Don't be too cute, Howie. How many times have we said, even, oh my God, for the stain of the last, 7 years, don't get too cute. Justin Jefferson's right there. Don't get too cute, Howie. Howie Roseman, I'm going to be adorable. I'm going to take Jalen Reagor. How many times have we yelled at our TVs, don't get too cute? I swear that thought went through my brain. Look, I would have been very happy with Branch. I would have loved to have Branch here in Philadelphia. I thought that would have been two great things to check off there when it came to both need and best player available. That would have been a happy mix for the Eagles in terms of perfect fit. You could start her immediately. You talk about maturity off the charts and all that. I would love that. But Nolan Smith, I'm not crying over Nolan Smith. And this is a very deep draft. There's a lot of guys shuffling the deck here as far as general managers go and directors of football operations throughout the entire NFL. But for Nolan Smith to fall on your lap like that, and Howie and Nick Sirianni look at each other and be like, yeah, what? I mean, he's right there. It's like rude not to take him. And they took him. Sean Desai has been given a lot of power here. They've invested heavily in this defense, and this defense now belongs to Sean Desai. I know everyone says he's going to run a very similar defense to what you saw with Jonathan Gannon. When we had John McMullen on the show earlier in the week, he had talked about, there's going to be a lot of the same thing, a lot of the similar things, but it's going to be even closer to Vic Fangio probably because he's a direct disciple, not one removed like Jonathan Gannon was. So whatever Sean Desai is going to be running here, the Eagles have already said, hey, fella, here's 2 first-round picks to help you with your cause. Our offense is already pretty stacked. You think in the second round, Brian Johnson's going, guys, can I get another running back? Can I get another running back, please? It wouldn't shock me if they it wouldn't shock me if they continued to go defense, especially if Brian Branch is still on the board. Love the kid. But the Eagles, the last 2 years in the second round, they have made investments in their offensive line. Cam Jurgens last year, the center of the future that might even be your starting guard in this upcoming season. And then before that, it was Landon Dickerson in the second round as well. So the Eagles could very well go for offensive line depth this year and a future offensive lineman, a future, it's Jeff Statler University, so it's the future All-Pro is what we're going to be looking at. A perennial All-Pro is what we're going to be looking at possibly today. Vila, I believe, is one name you should be keeping an eye on today. I liked him. I wouldn't have been pissed off if the Eagles took him if Nolan Smith was off the board. But I think the Eagles played this right. I think they played it right. I don't know if you guys saw this or not, but I absolutely love this, and I think it's absolutely hysterical. And I want to give a shout-out to our friends at Eagles Nation, part of PHL Sports Nation, Philadelphia Sports Nation. Cowboys fans are coping already. Here's a fun comment. I hate the Eagles so much. And you see the Reddit Cowboys right there. They're not happy. There's no question. This is from a Cowboys fan. Howie Roseman is the best GM in football. It's not even close. Trades broken down backup level QB Carson Wentz for a first-round pick. Trades that number 16 pick for this year's 10 and the Saints second-rounder. Ends up with the best defensive player in the draft. Makes me sick. And all this after making the Super Bowl. Just not fair. Let's hope some talent slides down the board to us at 26 overall. Us is the, of course, Dallas Cowboys fans. I don't know about you guys, but I like drinking the tears of unfathomable sadness. It's just, that's so good. It's fantastic. But here's what's even better. Friend of the show, Adam Lefko, was hosting a draft show last night with Micah Parsons. Go figure. And you know who else? A.J. Brown. A.J. Brown was chiming in on the show. So the Eagles go ahead and they get some really good players here. And Micah Parsons starts off this clip by just talking about how sick to his stomach he is. Check this out.
To my stomach right now. Not only does he have veteran
next to Fletcher Cox,
well,
it's
Fletcher
him and Jordan
Cox.
Davis for like the next 5 years.
That is just. Don't y'all just have N'Kobe Dean?
Oh yeah, we're
N'Kobe
just
Dean.
Georgia North.
I just think the Eagles like Georgia, but I'm just sick. I'm just sick to my stomach right now. I'm just sick to my stomach. I can't believe that many teams passed up on them.
Come here, it's gonna be okay. It's gonna be okay. Eagles.
I'm just truly just sick right now.
Wow.
I just.
You know what? Before we do the pick, let's go to A.J. Brown. A.J. Brown, hey, how you doing? Eagles fan Adam Lefko here. Jalen Carter is now your teammate, and people say he's the best player in the draft, and Howie moved up to get him at 9. Your thoughts?
I would definitely say Micah, I know you just be a Philadelphia Eagle at this point. I know you want to be a part of this great organization, man. Come on. He got Fletcher Cox, Hassan Reddick, Jordan Davis to go along with. Man, the defense is crazy right now.
And then the
man.
value of it. Hargrave, who just got $85 million, and now you're gonna pay someone for 20.
Oh, it's so great. Oh, it is so amazing. It's a tired expression. Rent free. Micah Parsons, remember, of course, last year, is it Jalen Hurts or is it the team? Well, guess what? That team is still pretty damn good. And Jalen Hurts is even better. Jalen Hurts got paid. By the way, Lamar Jackson getting the highest quarterback paid, whatever, it's such BS. Like, should it annoy me? It should not annoy me, but it annoys me. It absolutely annoys me because if you drafted, there's no way Lamar Jackson is a better quarterback than Jalen Hurts. I want Jalen Hurts to get paid more money than Lamar Jackson. And look, Jalen Hurts is young enough to the point where he's going to reset the market again in about 4 or 5 years, and max, maybe even 3 years, he'll reset the market again. So it shouldn't bother me. But the fact that he was only the highest paid player for like 20 minutes does bother me. And the fact that he was the motivating factor for Lamar Jackson to actually get a deal done with Baltimore, it does annoy me. But I am just blown away. I pulled it up because my brain is still fried from last night. Another crazy thing about this draft is that I can't believe that Christian Gonzalez went at 17. From everybody I talked to, best corner in the draft. Now, I like Devin Witherspoon. When we had Derek Gunn on the show last week, I had talked about how Devin Witherspoon was the guy that I was really – if the Eagles were going to take a corner, that's the corner I wanted them to get. No chance. He went 5th in the draft, which is bonkers. Paris Johnson out of Ohio State, he ended up going to the Cardinals later in that draft for the very next pick. Then a little bit of a run there started on defensive ends. Tyree Wilson went out of Texas Tech to the Raiders. And then it was like, all right, well, what are the Falcons going to do here? What are the Falcons going to do at 8? Because that was a concern. Are they going to take a edge rusher? Are they going to make the splash pick with Bijan Robinson? They went Bijan Robinson. And from that point, the Eagles thought, well, let's move up a spot and make sure we get our guy. And Jalen Carter was the guy they got. And all it cost was a 4th-round pick. Absolutely bonkers. The draft continues. The 12th pick was Jahmyr Gibbs. Another guy would have loved to see it on the Eagles maybe later in that draft, but turns out he wasn't going to be available. Again, what I pointed out earlier in the show, you look at this draft, the 2 running backs going to the top 12. You got 2 linebackers going by the 18 picks. And then the first pick was JSN out of Ohio State. He was the wide receiver taken at 20. And then that's when the run of wide receivers began. Quentin Johnson, by the way, out of TCU. What a target he's going to be for Justin Herbert. And then Zay Flowers out of Boston College. He went at number 23. And then Jordan Addison, USC went. So there's 4 wide receivers taken in a row. Then the Giants ended up taking Deonte Banks out of Maryland, the corner. Dalton Kincaid. I don't know what the hell Buffalo's doing, but good God, man, they are going to be dominant with tight ends. Dawson Knox is already an incredible red zone target. Now you're adding Dalton Kincaid to the mix there. That's insane. This is where the Cowboys cowboyed. Mozzie Smith out of Michigan, defensive tackle. Thank you. Thank you, both Giants and Cowboys. This is fun. And then you saw the offensive tackle Anton Harrison went at 27. He is out of Oklahoma. Then Miles Murphy was still on the board. Brian Breesy, by the way, he's out of Clemson as well. So 2 Clemson players go back to back from that defensive line. And the Eagles go, oh, look at us. Look at us. Look who's still there. Nolan Smith. They plucked him right out of the sky. So that was just an incredible, unpredictable NFL draft, the craziest I can remember. I can't remember a draft this crazy. Like, I would compare it, and it wasn't even like the full draft was that crazy, but Rex Ryan trading up from 16 to what, 3 to get Mark Sanchez, 4 to get Mark Sanchez. That's pretty insane. But overall, that's one thing. These picks, all of them in the first round, it was like D'Amico Ryans just lit a stick of dynamite and dropped it in the middle of the draft by trading for back-to-back picks. 2 and 3 in this draft. Absolutely insane. Getting his quarterback of the future and his edge rusher of the future as well, and Will Anderson Jr. Absolutely insane. Let me tell you right now, ladies and gentlemen, with the great people at Steven Singer. Steven Singer Jewelers. One place, one price, the perfect price online at IHateStevenSinger.com. That's IHateStevenSinger.com. The other corner of 8th and Walnut, you know what they guarantee? That perfect price. While the jewelers are market things way up, Steven Singer keeps them there at the perfect price, so you don't have to feel like you need to negotiate or haggle anytime at Steven Singer Jewelers. Steven Singer Jewelers, one place, one price, online at IHateStevenSinger.com. That's IHateStevenSinger.com. Let me tell you about the great people of Manscaped. Manscaped.com, the leader in below-the-waist grooming. Manscaped.com. Get 20% off and free shipping when you use promo code Farzy. That's promo code Farzy for 20% off and free shipping. You'll love their Platinum Package 4.0. That includes their 4.0 lawnmower, as well as their Weed Whacker ear and nose hair trimmer. Join 4 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped and their skin-safe technology that helps reduce the risk of nicks so you can manscape with confidence and comfort. So how about that? How about PHL Sports Nation, Philadelphia Sports Nation, enhancing your Philadelphia sports fan experience across all social media and blogs. That's PHLSportsNation.com. You like CBD? You enjoy CBD? How about Freestone Farm CBD at FreestoneFarmCBD.com? You'll love their tropical tasting Bayox that clocks in at a chart-topping 24.1%, and Super CBD, which is half Hindu, Kush, and 21%. Genetics of these guys are off the charts. So try Freestone Farm CBD at FreestoneFarmCBD.com. Use promo code Farzy for 20% off. Let's start it over at Jacob today. Farzy Show channel. We'll get to you guys in 1 second. Surge Legit. One hell of a name, Surge. What's going on? What's the move in the second round? I find a way to get Brian Branch. Sorry, I'm still hard set on him. Still very much heart set on Brian Branch, and I want the Eagles to go that direction. Just, again, it is still a need. I doubt he'll still be on the board by the time the Eagles pick, but it's still very much something I'd love to see the Eagles pull off there. Now, where the Eagles are right now on second rounders is it's the 30th pick in the second round. Before the draft even started, they made a trade in that third round with the Cardinals. So as of right now, the Eagles have about 145 picks. They have 145 pick layoff between the third and seventh round in the draft. So they have a while. I'm going to go ahead and assume that a lot of their draft picks from next year are going to be dealt today in order to either move in the second or third round. So I think they want another opportunity there to maybe get Brian Branch, or they want another opportunity there to see if they can get themselves an offensive lineman. Steve Avila out of TCU is a guy that could play the guard position rather well. He may still be available by the time the Eagles pick late in that second round. But if history shows us anything, it's that the Eagles are going to be looking to improve their offensive line. Another name to look at there is Matthew Bergeron out of Syracuse. Plays the tackle position. That'd be a guy that they'd be picking for the future to take over for Lane Johnson, similarly taking Cam Johnson to take over for Jason Kelsey in the not-too-distant future. So I would assume if you're a betting person, bet offensive line is where they go in the second round. But I'm going to go ahead and cross my fingers that they're able to make some more trades to get maybe 2 second-round picks today, maybe even another third-round pick, and be able to get a safety to help you out right now. The other direction the Eagles could be going here is running back, and that's usually another pick that they've used in the second round, another selection they made in the second round. I just don't think that that's the direction they're going to go in this year's draft. Not very running back heavy when it comes to this second round for the Eagles. Moving right along here. Ringo or Branch is what Phrase wants to go. Dev, Branch would be nice, but not sure if he will be there. Don't think he will be. Legal Side Hustles. That's a great name. We need Mims or Hyatt. All right. Dev, side note, Farzy, did you sleep? I slept for 2 hours. I got my 2 hours in, in the draft night, if you sleep more than 2 hours, man, you're just showing off. You know what I'm saying? I don't understand Lions pick for another running back. Here's the other thing. The Lions last night, and here's what I get, and here's what I understand about their pick. When the Lions were on the board, potentially picking, what was their original pick? 5? Or was it 6? I was originally thinking that they could be going after a running back in Bijan Robinson because their defense is pretty stacked. They were so close to making the playoffs last year. They had the same record as, I believe, 3 other playoff teams, the wild card teams, but they just missed out. They were 9-8. They had a winning season. Their defense is pretty stacked. They ended up later in the draft still adding to their defense with Jack Campbell, a guy that I would have loved to have seen later in the draft. The Eagles take a serious look at. He was projected by some to even be a second-round pick. So I thought there was some hope there that the Eagles could address the linebacker issue. There was not, as the Lions doubled down. So the Lions helped their defense tremendously by getting one of the best linebackers, inside linebackers in college football to now be on their defense. And they helped their offense by getting yet another quick, speedy, good hands running back in Jahmyr Gibbs. So for me, I think they absolutely, or Jahmyr Gibbs, I think they had a great draft. I think the Lions had a great draft. I think the Lions are a playoff team. I think they went into this draft, especially the first round, and they said, we need 2 guys that are going to be splash players to help get us over the hump. And I think they did that with both Gibbs and Campbell in this draft. So good for them. Dev, Sean Gillespie, what's up, buddy? The Lions are executing supreme mysterious strategy. Pretty much. Everyone's chilling. Again, Legal Side Hustles, great name. What an incredible day to be an Eagles fan. Absolutely. Sydney family, Cowboys. What? Cowboys, nothing. But Sydney family, I joked, imagine if Eagles get Carter and Smith to join the boys on Gate City Sports. Wow. Pots and pans. What else we got going on? I'm awake. Are you? Yes, I am. That's the name. Hopefully it's Brown and Drew, possibly. A lot of people excited about the draft, as they should be. See if I can get everybody else in here before flipping over. Sammy Khan! Sean Khan? Either way, Sammy, what's going on? Joey Porter Jr. would be nice. I would have been, like, there's not a lot the Eagles could have done. Well, there's a lot the Eagles could have done, certainly, but within reason. If they even would have taken a cornerback, if they would have taken a corner instead of Nolan Smith at that spot, I would have been a little pissed off. I would not have liked that. Because still in the first round, albeit still 30, you want somebody that's going to come in and be a starter, someone who's going to get regular rotation. A corner is not getting regular rotation unless somebody gets hurt. And now I am certainly not going to be rooting for injury for James Bradbury or for Darius Slay. A corner I would have hated. I laid it out for you guys on Monday in terms of the sexy picks that I was. Jalen Carter it was Will Anderson Jr. and it was Jalen Carter. I was on board with the Bijan Robinson if the Eagles would have traded back a couple of picks for more assets. That's the only way I would have been absolutely 1,000% cool with Bijan Robinson. Trading back to take him. Turns out that wasn't going to be an option. But overall, I just think the Eagles had a fantastic draft. But if they would have taken a corner, I would have been pissed off. Funniest 5 million. SB, yeah, Gibbs at 12 was weird. That sums it up. I agree. Sammy Chan, long live Jerry Jones. Absolutely. You want Ringo in the second round? That is great value. If Porter's gone. Second round, we can start talking about it. Absolutely. Second round, we can start talking about it. Let's see. Farzy Show channel. What's going on, everybody? April. Good morning, April. T-Bro. Howie Strikes Again says April. Absolutely. It's T-Bro. T-Bro. Go Bird Dogs. That's clever. I like that. Sean Gillespie, what's going on? Hello. Sean Kilrain, what's going on? Officially changed our name to the Georgia Triangle. John Cheeseborough, you old sandbagging SOB. Nice to see you. Good morning, Farzy in Society. Good morning. Sean Gillespie, what's going on? For the third straight year, the Eagles select 2 players for the national champions. Wow. The thought crossed my mind last night, John. The Eagles would never take SEC players. They would never take Power 5 schools. Are the Eagles comfortable enough with their locker room now and the established leadership and Jalen Hurts being here for a long time and Nick Sirianni as well? Are the Eagles so confident in their culture they don't feel like a kid from a big-time school, a big-time program is going to throw things off? Like Devontae Smith out of Alabama could have really helped the Eagles in their thinking and their approach to the draft. Because take a very good wide receiver out of the best program you could possibly get somebody out of, and he is a model citizen. I wonder how much that paved the way for some of these other guys, because now this is not even a topic of conversation whether or not you're worried about the Eagles taking players from really good schools. You know what that is when you overthink it? That is being too cute. And Howie Roseman said he was making an appointment with him and Nick Sirianni to not be too cute when it came to just drafting. Oh, well, Nolan Smith is still there. Let's keep it simple, stupid. Draft Nolan Smith. Oh, wait, you have Power 5 schools that are basically breeding grounds for phenomenal athletes in the NFL. Oh, let's go ahead and take these guys. It's worked out. You like Mock or Osiris? All right. Defense, I don't like to see Branch or Overshown. Okay, Sean. Kilrain. Hey, what's up? Eagles are the best sports organization in Philadelphia, bar none. I think that's I think they win that. I mean, I know the Phillies only just got back to 500, which is nice that they're at 500. But yeah, the Eagles with that nice little Super Bowl they had 5 years ago, that's fun. Getting back to a Super Bowl, yeah, that's fun. Yeah, I'd say it's the Eagles. I think you're right. And then right behind them, I think it's your boys. It's the Phillies. Whoever has losers from the first round. What's up, PJ? Veterans for sure will keep them out of trouble. I agree. Everyone's saying hello to each other. How about Will Levis? By the way, at least he had good company. And it looked like the company he had that was like for the first 20 picks, it was blondes, and then the last one was brunettes. Good for you, kid. T-Bros hanging out. Can we get Gabe Kapler Farzy to do some draft analysis? Asking for me. Well, I just think all the guys presented beautifully. I was going to wait till the Eagles to the Phillies were playing the Giants. But why not right now? Jalen Carter was just presenting beautifully. And now I'll show you my real feelings through interpretive dance. Anyway, John Cheesebro, nice to see you. Thank you, Sean Kilrain. I'd like to see Charbonnier. All right. Dom Patton. What's up, Dom? Nice to see you. Mihai Sanchez. Jalen on both sides of the football. Hurts and Carter. Oh, it's a nice mix. It's a healthy mix. All right, baby. It's a healthy mix. I am very much excited for what this NFL season is going to be bringing for our beloved Philadelphia Eagles. No question about that. It is absolutely insane what we're looking at right now. And to look into that second round a little bit further here, one of the names that jumped out last night, two of the names that really jumped out really were Joey Porter Jr., Penn State, obviously, the cornerback, and then Michael Mayer out of Notre Dame, the tight end. One of the things we were kicking around last night is what if Mayer went to the Eagles, and then you have him and Dallas Goedert as your tight ends, and you have a lot of 12 personnel you like to run. Not only do you have more weapons, another weapon for Jalen Hurts, but you also have somebody who's going to be protecting Jalen Hurts in the event that you need to pull him in for a blocker. There was a thought about possibly him going to the Cowboys and then him establishing maybe that Jason Witten, Tony Romo connection with Dak Prescott. And Dak Prescott, the thing that I thought was interesting is that there were a couple of games last year where it felt like Dak Prescott was starting to figure it out with his tight end and Dalton Schultz. Well, Mayer would be a huge step up from Dalton Schultz. Then there was a thought about possibly teaming him up with Travis Kelce in Kansas City. Andy Reid decided to not go that direction. But a couple of the names in the early goings of the second round today, Mayer, Porter, Branch, those are guys you could be looking at. I don't think Steve Avila is going to be there out of TCU at the guard position for the Eagles to take with their 30th pick in the second round. But some other names that could be there in the later goings of that part are Cody Mock, as we mentioned earlier, out of North Dakota State. And also the name I mentioned earlier in Matthew Bergeron out of Syracuse. He's tackle position, as is Mock, but they come in with some versatility there, which is great. If history tells you anything, second round, the Eagles are going to be focusing on their offensive line. I would still love to see the Eagles be aggressive. When it comes to the second and third rounds, the thing I am going to caution everybody on, or give everybody just a heads up, if you're not thinking this already, is that the Eagles, when you look at this draft, had only 6 picks going into the draft. That's amongst the lowest in the NFL. Only 4 teams had fewer picks than the Eagles. All right. And the Dolphins, the Ravens, the Vikings, and the Jets. Only 4 teams had fewer picks. Next year, the Eagles are down now to 11 picks in the draft next year. Their first rounder, 2 second rounders, 2 third rounders, a 4th rounder, and now they have 4 fifth round picks. I would not be surprised at all if they use one of their thirds, if they use their 4th, in order to get back into this second round and continue to get guys that will help you now and could very well help you now, whether that be Brian Branch, whether that be Mayer, whether that be an offensive lineman later in this draft. If you do not see the Eagles move up more than a pick or 2, they're going to take an offensive lineman. History is going to follow suit with Howie Roseman and this Eagles offensive line. Zero question about that going into the second and third rounds today. I still can't get over what a crazy night it was in the NFL draft. An absolutely bonkers night in the NFL draft. A couple other things I want to make sure I get to on today's show. Phillies did go. Morning Rush. Thank you, everyone, in the chat check. Let's get to the Morning Rush brought to you by Sky Motorcars, SkyMotorcars.com. The fate of the 76ers is sealed as for their second round opponent. They are going to be taking on the Boston Celtics, who did come up with the victory over the Hawks last night. In a wild game, for what I was able to just glance in on when we were at Topgolf in Atlantic City last night at Ocean Casino, what I was able to glance in on, it looked like a close game throughout. But the Celtics did what the Celtics seemed to be able to do, especially in the playoffs, especially, unfortunately, against the Sixers. The Celtics were able to close out that game and get the 128-120 win over the Atlanta Hawks. So now the Sixers and the Celtics face each other. Game 1, Sixers-Celtics second round series gets underway Monday night, 1 o'clock start. May 1st, that'll be. Sixers versus Celtics for a 7:30 tip-off. You guys can catch that game on TNT. Still waiting on more word on Joel Embiid's health, albeit getting a couple more days off between the end of their first round series and the start of their second round series with the Celtics. So hopefully we'll see Joel Embiid out there and healthy and ready to go by game 1. As for the Phillies, oh my goodness gracious. Phillies get a 1-0 win yesterday. They win their 3rd straight series. They get back to 500, and Matt Strahm is your starting pitcher in that game, and he was dealing. Your bullpen continued to deal for the Phillies last night. Nothing but good vibes in South Philly, whether it come to the NFL draft or whether it was the Phillies making sure they handled their business yesterday. Nick Castellanos helping the Phillies get on the board. Now, Nick Castellanos said after the game that the run he scored on the Cody Clemens RBI single wasn't a hit and run. Paco, the first base coach, looked at Nick Castellanos and said, hey, just go, man. This guy's slow to the plate. Gilbert's slow to the plate. Go handle your business. He said, all right, I'm going to handle my business. He goes on the pitch, trying to steal second, I guess. Cody Clemens happens to make solid contact. Nick Castellanos scores from first on that play. It's the second time, although it technically wasn't a hit and run. It's the second time the Phillies were able to play a run from first base, the first being JT Realmuto earlier in this series with a little hit and run action. I love that action. And the fact that Dusty Watson had a great read on that play as the ball was hitting the center field, thinking that he knew that he weren't going to be able to get a good throw on it as momentum was carrying the center fielder away from the play. The baseball barely makes it past second base, so Nick Castellanos scores easily, and you get Cody Clemens into second base there. So Phillies get the 1-0 win last night over the team they played, when I'm blanking on right now, unfortunately. The Seattle Mariners. Now the Phillies go into Houston. Now the Phillies have a nice little road trip here, including Los Angeles and the Dodgers, but they'll be back at it with Aaron Nola on the hill against Framber Valdez. Game 1 of that 3-game series tonight at 8:10 in Houston. I'll be back with you guys on the post-game show for the Jacob Media Phillies post-game show, so I'll be on with you guys later tonight. So, hey, why not? Let's see. Let's get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's get 5 shows in 2 days. Let's have ourselves some good times, ladies and gentlemen. And I'll be keeping an eye on the draft at the same time. Because why not, right? Because why not? Everybody, it's been just an insane night. My final thought when looking at the guys acquired by your Philadelphia Eagles is that I don't know if there's been a bigger turnaround in sports. Let's just keep it to Philadelphia for now. I don't know if there's been a bigger turnaround in Philadelphia sports than Howie Roseman. I mean, I've thought about this a couple times. Bernie Perrant, who won back-to-back Stanley Cup championships with the Flyers, as we all know, in the 70s. And if we don't all know, we should all know. Bernie Perrant was traded away from the Flyers. And then as Bill Clement always says, when he was reacquired, he came back and was great. That's a hell of a turnaround. It's hard to think about anybody else that had the turnaround that Howie Roseman has had, whether you're talking about player or front office executive. And the real funny thing is that front office executives don't get these kinds of chances. I mean, again, go Flyers. You can go Flyers again here. Bobby Clark, GM, not GM, GM again. Never won. It wasn't that long ago that Howie Roseman was banished to the janitor's closet. Let's not forget about this. And that was right after Chip Kelly. He comes back, and over the next 7 years, Howie Roseman builds a Super Bowl winner, gets the team back to a Super Bowl 5 years later. 2 years removed from the Chip Kelly era, wins a Super Bowl. With a backup quarterback, with maybe the deepest roster in the history of champions. The Eagles won that with the backup quarterback. We all know the story, all right? And then gets to a Super Bowl with probably the best 22, the best starting 22 the Eagles have ever had on a football field in what they had last night. Or excuse me, what they had last season. It used to be our favorite pastime, ripping Howie Roseman incessantly. Yeah, well, Howie's going to mess it up. We used to not look forward to draft night. We used to not look at 2 first-round picks and say, well, Howie's got it. In Howie we trust. That wasn't a thing. Literally this season, the Eagles are playing a game in Houston, and remember the scene? The Eagles fan in the stands in Houston holding a sign that said, Howie, we forgive you. And Howie fee-fi-fo-fums his way over to that side. He goes over to the stands. He ducks under the red velvet rope, goes behind security, goes right up to the stands. He's looking at the guy, and he goes, I'm forgiven for your first Super Bowl. Bleep you! I blame you! Let's go! And does a little smirk, and then fee-fi-fo-fums away. That lives on in Howie, how much we've ripped him. That's so out of fashion now, man. It ain't even cool. That's members-only jackets, okay? That's insane. It feels like forever ago that having a small amount of confidence, having no confidence in Howie Roseman was the norm in Philadelphia. Now that's not the case. And, man, has he hit home runs. Absolute home runs. I know a lot of people are going to hang on to the Justin Jefferson thing. You have no idea where the Eagles would be if Justin Jefferson was still on this team. Hell, Carson Wentz might still be your quarterback. If you had a target like that to throw to. No telling. But I feel fantastic about where the Eagles are right now. And I feel like that because of Jalen Hurts. And at the time, that was viewed as a huge mistake by Howie Roseman. Philosophically, sign a quarterback to a long-term deal like Carson Wentz and then draft a quarterback in the second round? Are you nuts? Howie had to know something was going on there. So he read the room, and he read the room phenomenally well last night, and he read the room very well last night, especially with that 30th pick. And not getting too cute. Oh, he could have gotten adorable at 30, but he decided to stick around. I don't know. My main takeaway from last night, other than just getting players that I think are going to help you win right now and make this defense maintain a high level of play, my main takeaway from last night is just how much we really trust Howie Roseman. And when it comes to getting to Super Bowls, winning one of them, when it comes to finding a quarterback you can invest in and a quarterback that you can easily root for in Jalen Hurts, that's all Howie making Howie moves, man. What a turnaround. What an incredible turnaround. Birds 365 has you back coming up at 8 o'clock on the Jacob Media YouTube channel. So make sure all you guys there on Jacob Media stay right there. Everyone on the Farzy Show, I'll be back with you guys on Monday morning, talking all things draft, recapping the draft, getting you ready for Sixers, Celtics, tipping off Monday night. Getting things underway, and hopefully a Phillies team that'll win 2 of 3 from the Houston Astros and win their 4th straight series and exact a little revenge on a World Series loss in Houston last year. And you know who needs to exercise some demons down there? Aaron Nola. He has not had a lot of luck in Houston, that's for sure. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. This is the Farzy Show presented by Steven Singer of Steven Singer Jewelers. One place, one price, perfect price online at IHateStevenSinger.com. That's IHateStevenSinger.com. Jim Hyden produced the program, did a wonderful job as per usual. Have a wonderful rest of your day, everybody. I'll be on Jacob Media for the Phillies postgame show tonight following Phillies and Astros. And then I'll be back with the Farzy Show Monday morning. Thanks, everybody. Have a great rest of your day. Have a great weekend. Go Birds. Go Phils. And we'll save it for Monday, but I'll get it out there now. Go Sixers. Please give us good news on Joel Embiid. See you guys. Take it easy.